Sorry, I accidentally ended the video. But yeah, I write screenplays. So, no disrespect to anybody's celebrity status, but those were just people that I wasn't following any celebrities. That wasn't my thing. So said to the pastor, I need to get this thing back because a piece of me is gone. I need it back. I need it back. And he's like, I don't know how to get it back. What do you mean you don't know how to get it back? And at now is when he believed me. Oh, maybe something was actually going on after all. You know, because I'm going from church to church because I would tell one pastor, this is not whatever, I'm not covered, and they're saying nothing should be getting to you because, and you could say Jesus. I mean, there's no demons. So I went into a Botanica. I've seen it, on 125th Street. And I went in there and he was like, okay, because I'm desperate now. Like, it's like, it's like you have two hands and one is gone. All of a sudden you're disabled. I was like, I can't, how am I supposed to, live like this? I need to get it back. So even though when I used to see that store, I wouldn't even walk past it. I used to go to the other side of the street and now I'm in there asking for help. Because the pastor doesn't know how to get it back. So he says, okay, well, you had a light and it's gone and it's far away. And I was like, I know where it's in Jamaica. And he says, I don't know how to get it back. I don't know if I could get it back. And I said, what is he going to do with it? And she said, he's going to use it. I was like, okay. So she refers me to somebody else. 2 weeks later, I get it back. And I know it's back because I could smile again. I could laugh again. I'm connected to God again. That's what it did. It connected me to God. That's that thing that gave me, that connection and the ability to laugh and that type of thing. So I knew it was back, and I could start writing again. But even though I had it back, it still kept trying to take it every day. Every day was a fight, pulling at it, even though it was somewhere else in my head, pulling at it, yanking at it. That was my every day. Day and night, around the clock. Like, that was my entire life. So at that point, I'm like, I'm not writing anything. I'm not doing anything except trying to, hold on to this thing. And, going back to the Botanica, telling them, they're trying to take it. They're still trying to take it back. And that's when, I was referred. No, what happened was I was, one morning I went because I was sitting there because I know something is coming. Like, these people, they're trying to give me a heart attack. So I was like, I'm going to sit here. I don't have anywhere to be at. I'm just going to sit here because this is just ridiculous to be on somebody every day and night over something that God put in me and you want to take it. How does that make any sense? And you're doing that because I'm not in Jamaica. There's only so much that I could do. So sitting there, start having a heart attack. The heart attack starts to happen, and this man comes in, and he's like, "Oh, tell her I know somebody who could help her." So fast forward, send this woman my name, and she said, "Okay, also send your date of birth." I'm like, okay. At first I was gonna lie. I was like, okay, maybe. And then I said, okay, if you really want help, because I'm going to church, I'm praying, and at that time didn't know. Yeah, I could go to church and I could get delivered at the altar, and this is how people in the church really don't understand. Yeah, I could go to church, I could get delivered at the altar, but when I walk back into the apartment, everything is also waiting there. It's not just on me. They're clever enough to leave it in the apartment itself. And as soon as I walk back in, everything just reattaches. I'm back to square one. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to be honest, okay, because I want this to end. So that's when here comes Jennifer Pastor, because I'm desperate at that point for help, because this thing has just completely taken over my life, completely. And she said that she's helping me, but all of a sudden, I have another problem. There's all this extra stuff, more things attacking me. And I said, where is all of this coming from? And it was a Saturday night, because at this point, I'm going to church in Manhattan, and I'm also going to church in Mount Vernon. 2 churches, because I'm desperate. And it was a Saturday night, and this thing is just tormenting me the entire night. But previously, before that, all of a sudden, things started coming out of my left foot. I'm like, how is this possible? Where are these things coming from? And I was sitting in a chapel in Manhattan praying, and I said, usually when something has happened, I could ask God for a word. So I was praying, like, Lord, where is this stuff coming from? And I happened to look down at my feet. I was wearing boots, and he's there, your left foot. That's where it's coming from. I'm like, how is that possible? Jennifer Pastor had placed a tracker in my lower left leg. Did not even know it. So this Saturday night, the thing is tormenting me the entire night. And by Friday night, by 5 a.m., I was so frustrated. I sat up in the bed, and I said, okay, where is all this stuff coming from? It doesn't make any sense. And my bedroom didn't have a lot of stuff in it, So I remember my laptop was on the desk, and I looked, and the Holy Spirit, the voice just pointed me to the outlets. He said, check the outlets. Lo and behold, everything was loaded in the outlets. And I remember I pulled away my bed, and I went, there was I think 3 outlets in the bedroom. And I put my hand over the outlet. And they started to be attached to my hand. They started coming into my hand, and I remember I opened the window, and I started throwing them out the window, and pulled my bed away from the wall, because there was an outlet there too. And the thing just started running up, just a black, shadowy thing, just started running up the wall, and I grabbed it, threw it out the window. And I said, how is this possible? This is like new territory right now. Never had this situation where I'm grabbing things, and just happened to turn. I was like, okay, where is this coming from? And just saw the face of a man on the wall. And because I was so frustrated, I hadn't, was up all night fighting with this, I remember I slapped the wall, slapped him in his face, whoever that was. And the Sunday I went to church, because everything, like I said, the demons or whatever was in the outlets. But what was strange is it was also in my cell phone. Because when I would put my hand at that point, if I put my hand over the cell phone, my hand would just, whatever was in my hand would just attach to the cell phone. I remember I had gone to church and was trying to show one of the brothers in the church. But what they did was to trick him, was as soon as my hand would attach to my cell phone with whatever demon was in it to attach to my hand, as soon as he put his cell phone, they were able to slip something over his cell phone and let my hand be attached to his cell phone as well. So I was like, oh my God, this is new territory. And it wasn't just my cell phone. It wasn't just a cell phone. It was also my laptop. The cell phone, the laptop too. And I said, this is just crazy. And didn't realize it was her doing it. And one time, I think it was after She said that she was going to do something to help me. And all of a sudden, I'm walking down the street. I had gone to Starbucks, going home. All of a sudden, it's like I'm being pulled everywhere. And I ran home. I had stopped and I called the pastor because I was by Columbia. I stopped and I called the pastor, and he was like, "It's too late. I'm not coming up there." So I went home and I was talking to my friend Salim, who's the doorman in my building. And I was like, "Salim, I think this woman is trying to kill me. She's not trying to help me." And Salim said, "You think? You think?" You know, because he already knew what was up. Like, she's not trying to help you. You have a spiritual gift. She's not trying to help you, nothing. So that's when she comes and she was like, "Oh, she couldn't help. She had to stop because whatever the people in Jamaica were doing to me, it was starting to affect her. So she has to stop." So I was like, "Okay." But she knew of a small group of religious people, she said, who could help me. But, the guy was away and it was going to take, a couple of weeks to get in touch with him. And I was like, okay. So one morning I hadn't gone home. I had slept at my friend Jenny's house. And the morning I was going home and I happened to stop in the park across the street from my building to read the Bible, to pray up before I go inside the apartment. And that's when she appeared out of nowhere. I think it was a Friday. Pretty certain it was a Friday. She appeared out of nowhere. Like she knew I was going to be there. Yeah, because after looking, hindsight, she had like her spirit tracking me. So she knew everywhere that I was going anyways. So she appeared and she said, "Oh, I got in touch with him and he's going to help you tonight." I was like, and then she says, "I don't want to scare you." I'm like, with all this stuff that's going on with me, what's going to scare me? She was like, "Are you sure?" She said, "You have 7,000 demons." I was like, 7,000? How does that make sense? That's more than Legion, the man who had the Legion. He was like, "Yeah, 7." I was like, "Okay, sure." So I called, one of my church sisters, and she said, "Tell her no. Tell her you don't want her help. Tell her no." She said, "You don't know these people from anywhere. What kind of religious people, small, religious people that have, access to God? Tell her no." So I started calling her, texting her. "No, tell them no, I don't want their help." She didn't answer. Did not answer. It was like hours after she answered the text and said, "Oh, whatever was started cannot be stopped." That's what she said. I said, "What?" Then I started to get sick. I mean, really like sick. And, that's when things just started to come into light. She was saying, "Oh, this group now had permission from God to end my life." And these were in text messages because now we're going at it. They had permission from God to end my life and take my gift. I said, "I've been reading the Bible. I've never heard that, ever. Heard God using a group to end somebody's life and take their gift. Where did I ever see that in the Bible?" I was like, "No, I rebuke you. I rebuke all of this. No, ma'am." So I started getting sick and she wouldn't stop. So I ended up in the hospital. And from the hospital, I called BMCC where she works. And I said, "This woman tells me, whatever she was doing, whatever spiritual stuff that she was doing was related to whatever she was teaching, and, basically had me trust her. And now she's telling me all this nonsense." So once it got to her employer, she stopped. And then I started to get better in December and in January. Started to get better. Months go on. I started school again. In May. End of May. 2 weeks into school. June 13, 2020. Saturday night, I'm laying in bed. I feel this thing go off in my lower left leg. I said, "Oh my God, this woman." Even though she had left me alone, whatever she had placed in my leg when everything was coming out of my left foot, She had left it in there like a tracker. So even if I was in Manhattan, if I was in London, if I was in France, she would still be able to find me. This woman had left the thing in my leg, felt it go off, and from there she just started like, messing with my hearing, messing with my sight, because I'm going to class on Zoom, because the hatred was there from the beginning. The hatred was all about the spiritual gift. Like, she wasn't ever trying to help me. She hated me from the beginning. I just didn't know it. So because I was, making a positive move, 2 weeks into school, here she comes, messing with my hearing, messing with my sight. Didn't make any sense. And I kept on, I still have the text messages, texting the pastor, what was going on, can we meet at the church to pray? And, he said, it's COVID, they're not doing any deliverance, and all that stuff. And the attacks just kept on happening and happening until October. One semester had ended and another semester started, and I had gotten another apartment in Westchester. I was going to move to Westchester, and went to the apartment, had the church sisters come over, they prayed, and me and another church sister, we cleaned the apartment. Had some furniture delivered to the apartment, but something kept on dragging me back to Manhattan. And even though, the church sisters are saying, we'll come help you get your stuff from Manhattan and move it up to Westchester, leave Manhattan, there's just too much bad that happened in Manhattan. You should get out of Manhattan. I stayed in Manhattan. Because the semester is going on. And, kept on postponing when I should move. And it was a Saturday. Because she started messing with my hearing she started messing with my hearing. So once because the people in Jamaica, Morrison, they had kind of tapered off because everything that they were doing, once she tried to attack me in November 2019, early 2020, they kind of had tapered off. Not much going on because everything that they're doing, nothing is really working. And all I'm doing is the pandemic. I would still get up, go out to pray. I had my praying spot where I would go out to pray and then go back home. So yeah, October, once she started to mess with my ears in June, they basically upped their game. Like, really, when I say really up their game, I mean really up their game with my hearing. That was it. And I could see the needles flying. Somebody else couldn't see it, but I could just see the needle. And at one point, it had gotten so bad, my ears were, so sore, I had to start taking medication, for it. Like, not prescribed medication, but, something over the counter for the pain. It was that bad because they just really started to concentrate on my ear. And then it was a Saturday, I had gone to the library. Coming up on October, I'm supposed to be in Westchester, I'm still in Manhattan. And I had gone to the library, I was studying, and all of a sudden I just felt two things like go in both of my ears. And I started to freak out. How am I gonna get this stuff out? And I'm calling the church, I'm telling the pastor, I need to do something about this. It's every day, and I have this other obligation to school. How can I be doing both of them when these people are just relentless? So I run back, where else? Back to the Botanica. And when I went back, when I ran in there, because these things had gone into my ear now, it's like whatever was left there for me, I mean, just jumped on me. Oh my God. Not just jumped on me, but just started yanking. Imagine your heart. Something just started yanking and pulling, yanking and pulling. And that's when I, went outside, and I'm standing there, you know, near my friend salon on 125th Street. Mind you, pastor lives on the same block. So I'm standing there crying, calling, um, people at the church, calling the church pastor, telling him what happened, and calling everybody. And she said, I told you not to go back in there. But I said, you don't understand. I've been telling you guys for months that this thing is just basically attacking my hearing day and night, and whatever just went into both of them. So I was just standing there crying and crying. And then this lady, I mean, people are passing. It's Manhattan, 123rd Street in Harlem. Yeah, I mean, people are minding their own business. So I was there for like an hour standing there crying. Nobody said anything. All of a sudden, this one lady comes up, and she was like, are you all right, mommy? I mean, she's Hispanic. And she touches me on my left elbow. And I was like, I just got this, it clenched up. I'm like, yes, I'm fine. And I went into my friend's salon, and I said, Jenny, this woman just touched me. I think she might be a witch. So I go into the bathroom, because it's the way that she just came out of nowhere, and the way I reacted, something wasn't right. Went into the bathroom to go I was wearing a sweatshirt. Went into the bathroom to go take it off, and then that's when I felt wherever she had touched me, I just felt something attached to my elbow. I was like, oh my God, Jenny, it's too late. It's already on me. So that night I didn't even go home. I went to her house. I had gotten accustomed to sleeping at her house, because I was like, so scared to go home. And if I had gone to Westchester, I was going to be by myself. What if something had happened? So that was another reason to stay in Manhattan. At least I had her, and I had Salim, I had my friend Abdi, who lived, on the next block. So stuck in Manhattan. And still going to classes. A couple of days after that happened, I had gone into the shop again to talk to my friend at her salon, and should not have done that, because this is a couple of days after. I think the woman touched me Saturday, that I'm certain of, and this was now Tuesday, I think. And I was talking to my friend as soon as I went into the salon, and I felt something attached on my back. I was like, oh my God, Jenny, another thing just attached. So I leave and I go to class, and I took my exam. I'm sitting there in class. This is on Zoom. All of a sudden, it's like, again with the heart. And this time it's really bad. And I can't even get to St. Luke's, down the block. And I called Jenny, and I was like, oh my God, the thing that, went on my back, it was something bad. And I get to St. Luke's, and the doctor, he's trying to do a sonogram, but he can't really touch my chest. Like, nothing can touch my chest because it's so painful, it's so tender, and at the same time, I can't even breathe that well. And I called I was there for, I think it started around 12. So as soon as I get there, it just so happened the prayer line came on. That was during the time of the prayer line. So I called the prayer line, when they have the prayer requests, and I was asking for help, and then people started to pray for me. And then after that, when I checked out, it was like a long saga because was there the entire Evelyn. I mean, a whole bunch of stuff happened. Like, had left, came back, went to another hospital, just crazy. So the next day I leave and I'm gonna go home. But as soon as I get far enough away from the hospital, it starts to happen again. So I jump in a cab and I, say, okay, take me to the VA. And that was like the longest cab ride ever, because this thing is just determined. Mind you, I have never done anything to these people. Don't know them from anywhere. Just determined, okay, I'm going to hurt you. Went to the VA. And, basically told him everything that was going on. But of course, nobody's going to believe me. Nobody's going to believe that this stuff is going on. So I'm like, no, I don't want to, I don't want to go back home and have to deal with this stuff because this is just too much. At least if I stay at the VA, there's other people, there with me day and night, and I wouldn't have to deal with it by myself. So ended up, that was in December. Ended up, no, we're fast forward to December. Ended up giving up my apartment in Manhattan and giving up my apartment in Westchester. Because even though I had both of them, the one in Westchester, the one in Manhattan, I wasn't going home. If I couldn't stay at Jenny's apartment or Salim's apartment, my friend Salim, I remember one night I was sitting in Chase Bank on my block, just sitting there, resting on my knee, going to sleep instead of going around the corner to go in my apartment to go to sleep. That's how much, afraid I was of this thing, whatever was happening. That's how afraid I was. So December, I give up both apartments and no plan. Just like no plan, just gave up both apartments. Like, what am I gonna do now? What am I gonna do now? But even before I gave up both apartments, when I was at the VA, because I said I'm not going back home, it was Thanksgiving. I was in bed all day, and just laying there in bed, nothing happened. So the nurse comes and she tells me the cleaning person needs to clean the room, so you have to exit because he's a male and he has to come in to clean the room. So I get up out of bed, he cleans the room, and I go back and I lay back in the same spot. All of a sudden I feel something moving underneath my head, and I get up and I look. I don't see anything, but I feel it moving there. That was Thursday. By Saturday, the gift, the forehead stone, was gone. He had taken the stone. Mind you, I'm in the VA talking about spiritual warfare and everything that's going on. And this man who works on the ward, could basically walk by and hear me talking to the doctors, had done that. And I had called Jenny again, my friend. I said, it's gone. She's like, how do you know? I said, it's a part of me. Of course I know it's gone. So I came out. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? And that's when I had gone back to my apartment in Manhattan. Actually, went back to my apartment, but didn't go in. Instead, I went over to my friend's house on the next block, and there happened to be an empty apartment upstairs above his apartment. I took that apartment. Never went back to my apartment for anything. Sent him over to my apartment to get, to just basically throw everything away, because at that point I didn't want anything. I don't want anything following me, didn't want anything attaching to me. So he basically threw everything away. But something strange had happened when I was in the VA, in the hospital. Because the guy had taken the stone this Saturday. And usually, I wasn't eating anything. I don't like touching my food or anything like that. But I could drink like closed, juices or whatever, cookies. And then the Friday night, I asked for a juice. They give me the juice. I open the juice, and it looks like a light. Just like, that was weird. Never saw that before, but I drank it. And after I drank it, I was like, oh no, that wasn't good. That was a bad move. And that's when I realized, oh, he could put stuff into closed object, not realizing that he had used the stone, the forehead stone, to give him knowledge to do that, because at that point he had the forehead stone. So when I went back to Manhattan, I still had the situation going on with Pastor. So I don't know what this woman is gonna do. I don't know whatever is going on. So I leave Manhattan and I go all the way to Pennsylvania. All the way to Pennsylvania. And the way these people work, even though I'm not in their presence or around them, they have like these things attached, their spirits, who they see everything, know everything that I'm doing, hear everything. So when the guy in the VA came up with that spell to get the demon spirits into the juice, guess who was looking and saw everything? Yeah, Pastor. So when I was in Pennsylvania, I was looking out for that, and was praying and everything. And something said, okay, don't eat anything until you leave Pennsylvania. But by the end of the couple of days, I was so hungry. When I got to the train station, I figured, okay, if something is in a vending machine, it's going to be fine. Nothing is going to be wrong with it. So I'm at the train station in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, getting ready to come back to New York. So I bought like a soda and like some kind of cake from the vending machine. Ate it. And when I had got to the train station, there was this lady, and I asked her, okay, where can I buy my ticket? And she pointed the direction. So I'm walking, I'm drinking the soda, eating the cake, and she's coming towards me. It's a grown woman, older than I am. She's older. But at the same time, she started doing, ooh, ooh. Mind you, she's not on the phone, but she's coming towards me, and I'm eating the thing, and she's like, ooh, ooh. And she passes by me, and I look at her like, what's wrong with you? And kept on eating the food. Got on the train. By the time we got into New Jersey, I had to get off the train. And I had to go to the hospital in an ambulance. My entire left foot, whatever I had eaten, my entire left foot, they thought I was having a stroke. So somehow, whatever was starting to happen was also in Pennsylvania too. Come back to New York without a plan. Okay, what am I gonna do now? Here, there, all over the place. Ended up at Montrose. Ended up at the Montrose VA, running away from this woman. Even though Psalm 27 is my psalm. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Because I'm so afraid of witchcraft. Running away from this evil person. Ended up at Montrose. Um, but before I even get to Montrose, when I get back to New York City and I'm staying here with this person and there with that person all over the place, I can't eat anything because everything that I eat is tainted with those spirits. And as soon as I eat it, even if it's the smallest bite, and this is what my friend Jenny was saying, it doesn't matter how, as soon as you put it to your lip, it attaches to my spirit, my spiritual gift. So it didn't make any sense to me. These were closed items. I'm going all over the place, but I would say where I was going before. Like, I had to go to Westchester, go to Scarsdale, and I had to speak to the person the day before. By the time I went to Scarsdale, the next day, and I'm at this point, like somebody on the run, and I happened to see a CVS. I stopped in the CVS, got a soda and some trail mix. Soon as I eat it, boom, back in my head. Had an episode where I needed to go to Bronxville to take care of some stuff. Stopped at a gas station because I had to, I had said before where I was going. Stopped at a gas station, same thing. Went to Lawrence Hospital, thinking it's a hospital. Nobody's gonna, how are all these people doing this? How are all these people doing this? The nurse had given me, because I had to get like a pill because something had stuck me in my finger. So she had given me a pill to take. As soon as I took the pill, boom, and that was the worst one that attached right over my right ear. That Jennifer Pastor ended up using for like mind control. Like whenever she wants to control, like don't do this, don't do that. That's what she used. And sorry, I just got a email. But it was possible because in 2019, when she came with the craziness that the group had permission from God to end my life, me and my friend, we went to her to look up this group on Facebook and found the group through her Facebook page. It was not this small little religious group. It was a cult, a satanic cult with over 10,000 people. And then that's when I knew I was in trouble. I mean, me and my friend Jenny, we was like, what? What kind of lie is that to tell? Over 10,000 people in this group. So when I'm running from here, there, I'm saying, she's not in all these places. She's not following me to Pennsylvania. She's not in Scarsdale. She's not in Bronxville. She's not in Queens. The group. Because once that guy in the VA, came up with the spell to do that with the food, when he had the forehead stone, because she's constantly tailing and watching me, she copied it and shared it with the group. So got out of the VA and like, okay, again, went all of December without the forehead stone. These people think, okay, well, it's some kind of spare part, because now this is the second person who has it. Okay, how am I gonna get this thing back? Again, I'm not doing anything to anybody. Barely said anything to this man beside hi, bye, that's it. Good morning. Had to go back to that church in Brooklyn to get it back. Got it back. And here she comes, Jennifer Pastor. Taking it, trying to take it. Everything that I would eat. I remember, because I'm basically every day trying to go to a different neighborhood to get food. And One day, took the train. I was actually going to Brooklyn, and I got off the train in Manhattan. I figured, okay, well, I hadn't been to this neighborhood before. Went into a Target, bought some chips, came out. I'm like, oh my God, that wasn't good. Wasn't good. Got on the train because I had to go to White Plains. Got on the train. By the time I got on the train, whatever I had eaten, because when I had gotten off the train in Manhattan, and just because at that point I'm starving, like a criminal trying to find food wherever. Just ran into Target, got the chips, ate it, came out of Target. Oh my God. There was a school that she works at. And I'm walking by. But she had already tainted the area, because as soon as I tried to turn around and run, I felt something hit. Go back into the Target, and I returned everything, except the chips that I had already eaten. Got on the train, and then that's when I felt everything, because of the chip that I was eating, whatever spell was on it, had already gone off in my head around taking the gift, the stone. Yeah, and then she took it. It was gone. It was gone. She had it. So it was like, and from then on, she just started to attack. And she started working at the back of my head, and it was this thing just in and out. I remember it was MLK Day, and I had called a sister from the church, like, could you come help me pray? But she didn't come. And this woman just started working, like, whatever she was using the forehead stone to do, would just come up with all these devices, because she thought the thing that she was taking out of the back of my head was my spirit. And I remember the night that she took it was like after midnight she took it, and I could see the thing just fly off. But before she actually took it, I had to go to the Bronx VA, to the ER. I was in the ER like all night, and because she has a forehead stone, now she has this thing on my body. It's like it's computerized. That's how fast the thing is moving. It's like my body has like pockets on them that has like, you could call it ammunition, and it's like a hand going back and forth, taking the ammunition and using it on my head. Like the bags, like she had them on my feet, my thighs, because I remember when she ran out, she was picking up the bags, because at that time I still had all the gifting except the forehead stone, so I could feel everything just like somebody touching me, so I could see it, feel it, what she was doing. And because she was working at the back of my head, I put my hand to try to take it out with my hand, and then that's when she realized, oh, there's also giftings in her hand, like there's also power in her hand. And she sent whatever she sent into my hand, I was trying to get it out, but I can't pray it out. So I started to hit my hand on the floor, and the staff was like, no, you can't be doing that. That's not. Whatever she put in my hand is just weakened whatever was in my palm. Immediately took that. That was gone. So now it's the forehead stone, my palm, and the thing from the back of my head. When she took that the night, and I woke up the next morning, I mean, whatever spirit she had attached to me, I could tell that it was so surprised that I was still up. And she was just waiting to see what would happen when I ate something. And I went to the store, got something to eat. And then that's when she realized, okay. And from there on, just kept on going and going and going. So went to Montrose, was at Montrose, and she didn't really have anything to work with at that point, you know. So I'm just there, going to classes, studying, and the only thing that she had to work with was a thing over my right ear, because whenever I started to study, I could tell that she's using it because it used to start to burn, burn in the side of my head. And at that point, I'm still on quarantine. I'm on quarantine, but the day before I was supposed to get out of quarantine, one of the church sisters, I'm just laying down, like taking a break. Just hear her voice. She said, "Okay, if I was you, I wouldn't eat anything before until I leave here." I was like, "What? I'm on quarantine for 13 days. I'm looking forward to tomorrow, where I could finally go to this, the canteen and get some food." So she said she wouldn't eat anything. All right. I left, came back, and I said I had spoken to the pastor at the church, and he said, "Are you gonna let, something like that stop you from eating food?" Because I told him, wherever I go, this stuff is tainted. It's not making sense, and I'm not buying like McDonald's or anything that's open or from a restaurant. These are closed items, and this is happening. So I started eating, and the first 2 days the food was completely fine. By the third day, mind you, I'm all the way upstate, but on VA campus, VA grounds. By the third day was a bottle of orange soda. I drank it, boom, went off in the back of my head. And that night, ended up in the ER. And it was when I got to the ER, I said, "Oh my God, I made a mistake. That was a mistake." Because even though, she's going to take whatever from the back of my head, I forgot that I now had a spirit on me that, I don't know if she created it or I picked it up somewhere else. It's like arms. If I go next to somebody who has anything on them, it pulls it onto me. Wherever I go and there's a stray spirit, it's coming with me. No matter what it is, she's dragging it on to me. So I had gone to the hospital and, of course, picked up a whole bunch of stuff, came back. And then that night, she took whatever it was from the back of my head. But they thought that was it. Because when I moved, her spirit that's following me, the demon spirit, was so shocked. It's like it could feel her jump back. And I was even telling my mother about it the next day. So now they're confused. Like, how is she still alive? And I'm dealing with this. Like, I didn't do anything to these people. Nothing. But they're trying to kill me for nothing. Doesn't make any sense. And now I'm at the VA, and has to be somebody in the cult there, because who's doing this to the food? So I stopped eating. But one day I had gone to the canteen because there's nothing to eat, but the canteen had closed, and I said, "Can I get some milk?" And this guy comes out and he hands me the milk. But when he hands me the milk, his finger touches my finger. And when he touched, it was like he touched my finger, but it went straight to my heart. And I just looked him straight in the eye and I said, "Do you work here?" And he said, "No, I'm an EMT." He's one of the cleaning people. And by the time I went back to my room in the building, Jennifer Pastor, she just started using everything. And that's when I knew, because the thing on my finger, she had taken it off and was using it, to attack. Because as soon as I walked into the room, that's when she just started on the heart. I was like, this doesn't make. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all. Because now she just doesn't know how she's still alive. So I'm just gonna like rip her heart out. And at that time, I'm in school on Zoom. So school is supposed to be going on. I'm supposed to be studying, and I have this huge problem going on that nobody can see. Just my problem. And one day I happened to be talking to one of my friend Rob. Like, Rob, this is just crazy. I mean, how many people with this stone? I'm not bothering this woman, nothing. And I say to Rob, I started talking to Rob about the experience in the Bronx, VA, where the man had told me about the cross in my forehead. And when I said it, I immediately knew that I made a mistake, because we got up from there and we were walking about 5-10 minutes over to building 12, the next building. And then that's when something just hit me in my forehead so hard that I fell on my knees. We were just walking. The demon hit me in my forehead so hard and plugged up that's when I realized the hole was still there. It plugged up the hole. It was so hard I fell to my knees. I was like, now I have a problem. Because now it's her and Morris had found me again. Because when I was on quarantine, because when I left Manhattan, because I left all my stuff in the apartment, I didn't go back in my apartment. Both him and Morrison, those are the people from Jamaica. They couldn't find me anymore. All I had to be dealing with at that point was just, Jennifer Pastor. That's it. But one day, I'm on quarantine and I was studying and I said, okay, let me take a break. Because at that point, I wasn't watching TV. I wasn't on the internet. But when I was in Manhattan, there was this one site, Bravo. And I was going to go check one of my shows on Bravo. I type in Bravo, and as soon as I type it in, like second after, I feel something fall on my left hand. It's like, oh. He found me again, because previous to that happened, the couple of days, it's like Jennifer Pastor was forcing me to do that, because a couple of days before I did that, I was having like recurring memories about what was taking place in Manhattan. So as soon as I feel the thing, I can't see it, just feel it land on my hand, I closed the website. And I said, how can somebody send a spirit to me on the internet, on my laptop? How does that make any sense? It doesn't. And at the time, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. The forehead stone. Because he's the first one who took the forehead stone. So in that 2 weeks when he had it, he used it to come up with whatever spell to send spirits via the internet. Didn't put 2 and 2 together then. But he had found me again, and then he started working. And now he took over from Pastor. So Pastor was just in the background, and he was the one doing everything. He had gotten into what I was thinking I thought it was my physical brain. I didn't know there was actually a spiritual brain. So all this time I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to die. This thing is inside my actual brain. And the text messages still texting people like, what am I going to do? It's COVID. Where can I go? I can't, for help. And this man is, doing all these things in my head. Because even though when I was at the VA, again, because I had gone back to the VA before coming to Montrose, I had gone back to the VA down in the Bronx. One Saturday morning, I just felt this thing went up my nose, but it didn't stop there. It went straight up, like into my head. when because I'm in the same space where the man was who took the forehead stone, so it went up into my head. And when I left, Jennifer Pastor didn't know what to do with it. She didn't know, had no clue what to do with it, so she just pulled it down into my brain. Felt like my brain. All this time this stuff is going on, I'm thinking it's my actual brain, because I could feel and see these things just go, happening. So back to Montrose, Morris is now working in my head. Pastor is not doing anything. I guess just watching. And then, one day I was working on my laptop and my door is always closed. And I see like this small little black fly. I mean, so tiny you could barely see it. So I'm just working on my laptop. I see it and I, reach out to grab it. Like, where did that come from? Didn't think anything of it, but I didn't get it. So I opened the door for it to go out, and I kept on working. The night when I'm supposed to go to bed, I see it like right over my bed, the head of my bed, and I killed it right on the wall. I killed it. Didn't think anything of it. Good Friday comes around, closed my laptop, and went out, came back, opened my laptop, and then this tiny little black